This is the Knowledge Graph Insights podcast, episode number 32. The original plan for the World Wide Web was that it would be a two-way street, with opportunities to both discover and share knowledge. That promise was lost early on, and then restored a few years later when Wikipedia added an edit button to the internet. Denny Vrandečić is working to make that edit function even more powerful with Abstract Wikipedia, an innovative platform that lets web citizens both create and consume the world's knowledge in their own language.
Welcome to the Knowledge Graph Insights podcast, where experts on knowledge graphs and the semantic web share their wisdom with the digital and business communities. Our mission is to demystify and democratize knowledge graph technology and practices to make the benefits of knowledge graphs and semantic technology accessible to all. And now, here's your host, Larry Swanson.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode number 32 of the Knowledge Graph Insights podcast. I am really delighted today to welcome to the show Denny Vrandečić. Denny is the best known as the founder of Wikidata, which we'll talk about more in just a minute. He's currently the head of special projects at the Wikimedia Foundation. He's also a visiting professor at King's College London. So welcome, Denny. Tell the folks a little bit more about what you're up to these days.
Thank you so much for having me, Larry. It's really a pleasure and honor. I enjoyed listening to your podcast a lot, and I'm very happy to be here too. So these days, I'm with the Wikimedia Foundation, and as you said, called Head of Special Projects, and there I'm working on two new projects, one called Wiki Functions and Abstract Wikipedia, which are really very much tied together. And we'll get to those both in a moment, I think.
Yeah, I'm really excited about both projects. I can't wait to get to them. But let's talk a little bit about Wikidata first, because you started that 2012, is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. What was the impetus for that? Like, what motivated you to start that project?
Well, this goes actually back to 2005. Markus Krötsch and I were PhD students in Karlsruhe, and Wikimania was coming to Frankfurt, which is really close to Karlsruhe. And it was the very first Wikimania at all. We were both Wikipedians, and we wanted to go there. And we thought, what could we do? And so we connected our research topic, which was the semantic web, with Wikipedia and made a proposal there. And we didn't really think it would go anywhere. We were just like, this would be really cool if this happened. But over the next few years, there was so much interest in that. People actually started implementing our ideas. We picked up on that. Semantic Media Wiki came out of it. And eventually, when I was finishing my PhD, I was asked if by Mark Reeves, who was working for Paul Allen's Vulkan back then. He was asking if I would like to make this happen for real. And so we approached the Wikimedia Foundation, we approached the Wikimedia movement, and there was great excitement about it. We got the funding aligned, and then we started working on Wikidata. And this was really a dream come true, basically, for us who've been working on this idea of bringing structured data and Wikipedia together for more than 7 years at that point.
That's so interesting. Because I kind of, my interest, obviously it goes back a ways, but my history of this kind of picks up with Wikidata. So that prehistory of it, connecting Wikipedia to the semantic web, which is obviously you're going to end up with something like Wikidata. And you were backed by the Vulkan Foundation or by Paul Allen's Foundation?
Yes.
I did not know that. I lived in Seattle for a long time, so so I walked by their building a lot. But that's really fascinating. And how? So from 2005 to 2012, was it sort of like simmering, and or were you doing things to like kind of precursors to the launch of Wikidata?
We were doing precursive work. We were developing an extension called Semantic Media Wiki, which was actually is still quite widely used. There are two conferences per year about semantic media wiki users. NASA is using it, for example, on the ISS. Microsoft and many others were also using or are still using it, which is actually integrating structured data into a media wiki installation and allowing everyone to build like small knowledge graphs to query it and so on. For Wikidata, we took a lot of those lessons, and we knew that we needed a little bit different data models. So we started actually a different software project, right? We didn't build it on Semantic Media Wiki, but rather on something even more structured. Semantic Media Wiki is really good if you want to interleave the text together with the structured data, with the annotations, whereas Wikidata really builds a pure knowledge graph, items connecting it and giving it values and so on. But originally we were thinking, oh, we'll just switch on Semantic Media Wiki on the Wikipedias. I'm very glad we didn't do that. Actually, just recently, the 10-year anniversary of Wikidata was coming up recently. It's already 3 years ago. And Markus Lydia Pincher, who's the product lead for Wikidata at Wikimedia Deutschland, and I wrote a paper about the history of Wikidata. We were actually going into detail about these topics and how Wikidata came around.
Oh, I'll have to link to that paper in the show notes. I'd love to read it. Well, then that's interesting. And then, so Wikidata that was sort of the original, like, not original, but like, it was one of the first realizations of the promise of the semantic web. And it continues to be, in the sense of like the unique identifiers and entity resolution and things like that. I assume you consider it a success. It seems like it's such an important part of the knowledge part of the internet.
If you ask me, yes, definitely. Wikidata is a resounding success, obviously. It's certainly much bigger success than we ever expected. More than 500,000 people have contributed to Wikidata. And, if you had asked me in 2010, 2011, what the number of people will be who will contribute to such a project, I would be off by more than 10x. I would never have assumed that 500,000 people would actually contribute to such a project. So I'm really happy. Wikidata is now the most edited wiki in the world, by far, even beating like English Wikipedia. It is also just very large, very comprehensive, and I'm more than excited about how it has developed, and I'm very happy to see how Lydia was continuing to work after I left Wikidata.
Nice. That's the way. And for all of its success, though, you see more that could be done in this era, right? Is that sort of where your current projects come from?
Yes, absolutely. So Wikidata is a classical knowledge graph. You have items. Actually, we went beyond the classical data model already in Wikidata, right? So we're not just like triples. It's not just subject, predicate, object. We also introduced the ability to have qualifiers on each of those statements. We introduced the ability to have references for every statement and so on. So there's also a number of things that we added. Apologies. Mm-hmm. There was already a number of things that we added on top of what knowledge graphs usually have, and made it already more complicated for people to reuse it. But nevertheless, the expressivity of Wikidata remains, still limited, right? If you look at a Wikipedia article, if you look at an encyclopedic article, there's a lot of knowledge in there which would be very difficult to express in a system like Wikidata. My favorite examples are usually things like Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. This is something that you wouldn't have explicitly in a knowledge graph. You would have the sizes of the planets in the solar system. You would know which are the planets of a solar system, but that something is the largest one would maybe implicit because the sizes would suggest that, but it wouldn't be actually explicitly stated. But in Wikipedia, if you look through the different language editions of the Jupiter article, you will find this information in each of them explicitly. So there's something in that knowledge which we really want to express, which we want to say, but can't be expressed explicitly in a knowledge graph. Another example that I like to use is to say that Marie Curie is the only person to have ever received 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different sciences. Again, information which can be implicitly in the knowledge graph, but wouldn't be expressed explicitly. So natural language goes well beyond what you can express in a knowledge graph. And this is where Abstract Wikipedia comes in, where we're aiming to actually allow the community to create the expressiveness to capture statements like these and to make them available in a structured format.
Yeah, and as you say that, like to let the community capture, and part of this is like the community writ large, like the whole planet, every language, every culture contributing to this, which everybody can do now in Wikipedia, but it's sort of like you said, it's captured explicitly in each individual instance of an article or a Wikidata entry, I guess. So talk a little bit. Can you just give us a quick overview of Abstract Wikipedia and how sort of the, I don't know, like the architecture, just sort of the outline of it? Yeah.
So first you have to realize that Wikipedia exists in more than 300 different languages. And the articles in those languages are mostly independent of each other. So if you contribute something to the article about Seattle, for example, in the English Wikipedia, there's actually no mechanism that propagates that knowledge to the article on the German Wikipedia or the French Wikipedia or the Hausa Wikipedia, for example. Since those articles are mostly done, as said, independently of each other. And we've done a few analyses to see like how does knowledge propagate between the languages. And most of it is either very slow, it can take up to half a year, for example, for a change to come to the, or it happens never, actually. It simply doesn't happen. In Abstract Wikipedia, the goal is very similar to what Wikidata does. So we already have some pieces of knowledge captured in Wikidata, for example, who is the mayor of a city, what is the population of a city, and so on. And this information can already be accessed by the language Wikipedias. So you will find that there are quite a few language editions that when a mayor changes of a city actually get updated because they get the information about who the mayor is from Wikidata. They just send a query to Wikidata and display you the actual result. In Abstract Wikipedia, we want to go further for that. We basically want to express the whole article in an abstract notation, a structured way, so that when you edit the article, you edit the structure immediately. It's the same thing like Wikidata. If you edit Wikidata using the Japanese interface, so you can edit Wikidata in any language, in about 400 languages, I think. I would need to look it up. You can edit Wikidata in about 400 languages, but you're always working on the same knowledge graph. So any edit that you make, say in Japanese, will be immediately visible, say, on the Portuguese version, and because it is the same knowledge graph underneath. The same thing will be true for Abstract Wikipedia. So we're going to build the article slowly, piece by piece, in an abstract, language-independent notation. So this is what we mean with abstract, and have this represented in a structured format. And then, if your Wikipedia doesn't have an article about a topic, we can refer to the abstract Wikipedia version and display this as natural language text in your language and show the article.
Oh, interesting. So you can almost instantly fill those, because there's big gaps across languages in Wikipedia now. And so you could say like something like that, like basic facts about a city or a person. Is that sort of the first like prototypical instantiation of the abstract Wikipedia?
Absolutely, exactly that.
Yeah.
So that we can fill in a lot of the gaps that we currently have, particularly in smaller underrepresented languages. This also allows the communities of those languages to really focus on the topics that they want to contribute to, and they can then defer to Abstract Wikipedia to have, for example, articles about every city, country, element, planet, and so on, and they don't have to write them all themselves. They can always overwrite the article if they want to in their own language, but if they don't want to, and if they want to focus on specific topics, they can just say, I will take this from Abstract Wikipedia, we don't have to worry about this anymore. This is now being maintained by a global community where they can also contribute to, by the way.
Yeah, interesting. And how many contributors are there? Are you to the point of accepting contributions to Abstract Wikipedia? Is
No,
it?
we're not there yet. So
Yeah.
that part hasn't launched yet. We're still working towards that.
Yeah, because I think of like the I don't know what the difference is between like Wikipedia editors and Wikidata contributors, and like I guess you're probably expecting some similar difference in the number of contributors, but it seems like the number of contributors could go up really quickly with if well, I
Yeah.
guess what does that look like to the editors? Is it similar to like how you would edit a Wikipedia article, or is it a little more? Is it more? I'm assuming it's more like Wikidata. Is it?
It is closer to Wikidata. It's more like a drag and drop form-based editing. But we're also thinking about using actually LLMs and let you just write in natural language and then using an LLM to, for example, create a structured representation out of that. So since this hasn't deployed yet, we are currently designing and working on the user interface that will allow you to actually contribute and maintain Abstract Wikipedia. But in the end, the goal is to make it very accessible. So the number of contributors to Wikidata, as you point rightfully out, is in general higher than to most Wikipedias. There are more contributors to Wikidata than there are on most, besides maybe the biggest Wikipedia. So English Wikipedia obviously has more contributors, but German, French, Italian are all similar to Wikidata, and most of the language editions that we have are actually fewer contributors than Wikidata does.
Yeah. As you say that, I'm wondering, is there an opportunity for this to explode? Because, like, meaning that if you had a natural language interface, like facilitated by an LLM or something, and because LLMs are so good at writing code, however you're encoding the stuff into Abstract Wikipedia, is that, I mean, are you, I get immediately excited about that. Should I calm down, or am I reasonably excited about this?
I would recommend that you're reasonably excited about that. So I think I think it's very fair to be, because it will basically allow us to have people contribute across language barriers on the same article, which is a huge thing. We have a lot of research that shows that if people from different points of view contribute together on a Wikipedia article, the article becomes more comprehensive, more neutral, and better on basically every metric. And if we take away the language barrier and allow people to work on the same text across languages, we expect the same benefit here. So we can actually hope for more neutral and more comprehensive articles in Wikipedia using this approach.
Interesting. I've read a lot of business research and other research about the benefits of like diverse teams and just the more points of view, the better. And this sounds like a way to really accelerate that in your kind of data and knowledge ecosystem there. That's really exciting. And where are we at with Abstract Wikipedia? Is this something that people can go play with now, or is it, how can people learn more about it, I guess?
To learn more about it, there is plenty of websites that we'll put in the show notes on the Wikipedia pages. What we currently have is Wiki Functions, which is a necessary precondition to Abstract Wikipedia. There, the community can create functions that, for example, they can be all kinds of functions. But what is relevant for Abstract Wikipedia is that they can have functions which write text. So given the structured data that we are building in Abstract Wikipedia, how do we actually turn that into a natural language text that the community can read, again, that normal users can read? Because we don't expect anyone to read structured data and get information out of it. What people want to read is text. And this is where Wiki Functions come in, that take these structured representations that the community is creating and maintaining in Abstract Wikipedia and turn it into text so that in the end it looks just like a normal Wikipedia article in their language, but it will be more comprehensive, it's more up to date, it will be more correct and so on, because a larger community is actually working on the topic, maybe not even speaking that language and contributing to the knowledge that you have now available in your language.
That's really, and is that, I heard the term Rosetta Stone come up someplace in my research on this. Is that what you're talking about there?
Kind of. The Rosetta Stone was used for reading and for deciphering different languages, but but maybe, yeah. I like to think of Wikidata particularly as the Rosetta Stone of the web, because it connects to so many, to literally thousands of different databases and their identifiers for the different topics, which is exactly, since we were talking about the semantic web earlier, in the semantic web, you have all these identifiers for the different topics and so on. And Wikidata really pulls those together and allows you to understand what this database will be mapped to what in that database over there, so that you can actually connect the data from all over the web together.
Nice. Hey, I want to go back to wiki functions a little bit, because you mentioned that it's a prerequisite to Abstract Wikipedia, which makes sense. But wiki functions already exist. There's a couple thousand of them out there. Can you talk a little bit about how that project arose and what it's looking like right now?
Yes. So currently we have still a starting budding community of a few dozen contributors who are working on wiki functions. They have created already a catalog of more than 2,000 functions and made them available. And what we are working on is introducing more data types for those functions, more access to Wikidata, particularly to the lexicographic data in Wikidata. So what we have in Wikidata is not only just the ontological space, the data about topics and things and items, but also we have a lot of data about words, what these words mean, connecting back to the ontology in Wikidata, and their inflections and so on. So with this lexicographical data being available for wiki functions, you can actually connect all of this together and start creating correct sentences that explain basically the topics of the different Wikipedia articles. So reading Abstract Wikipedia is a place where all these projects come together in order to provide more knowledge in more languages and allow everyone to contribute to this common knowledge that we have in Wikimedia.
That is so interesting. I just love how this is like the original promise of the semantic web in some ways. It seems like that anybody in the world can access and contribute to it in that sense. That's really exciting. How are you getting how do you build this? Like Wikipedia is obviously many years old and it's well established, in Wikidata as well. So you have the historical legacy there, but do you have like a proactive outreach to try to like get more contributors to wiki functions and people to test like Abstract Wikipedia? Like, can you tell me a little bit about like the development of these new initiatives?
Yes. Yes, we have a whole team that's dedicated to community outreach at the Wikimedia Foundation that is about communicating with the community. First, I can tell you that that there are a lot of members of the community who are very excited about what we're doing, and they like to contribute to our work. They help us building a system. When we have difficult technical questions, we sometimes go to the community, we get a really great sounding board and feedback. We are just starting these days about a very difficult, some might call it an implementation detail, but a very difficult question of where the content of Abstract Wikipedia is actually supposed to live. Because, as I said, it's a connecting, Wikidata, wiki functions, Wikipedia, but where is it actually, where it will be located, where will it be stored, and so on, which is something we actually don't know what the best answer is. And so we go to the community and discuss this with them and show the ideas that we have, hope for more ideas than that they might have. A number of times we had actually contributors from the community coming to us with better ideas than anything we came up with, and we went very happily with those solutions. So there are a lot of people who are very excited about what we're building, and on the other side, we're also reaching out to the communities in order to see how they can use Abstract Wikipedia in their Wikipedia, how they can use wiki functions in their Wikipedia, and how it can make their life better, how it can make their projects better, and how they can use it there. So there are a number of interlocking approaches here that we are following.
Yeah, that's probably a whole other podcast about the infrastructure that underlies all of this. Because I've been doing content modeling for many years, and so I'm always aware that somewhere under that content management system, or whatever, there's a repository where everything actually lies, something close to the physical storage of the data. And now that's really fast. So the Abstract Wikipedia will provide for a way for anybody in any language to edit and contribute to this. And then it goes someplace, I guess, and that's still TBD. Is that sort of the idea?
That's full TBD. That's exactly what we want to decide in the upcoming few weeks, together with the community, because there's also a lot of governance questions around that. Because depending on where exactly it's stored, there's also the community that actually has to maintain this content and keep it up to date and be and create the rules about creating this content. So do we want this to be like close to Wikifunctions, which is a very technical community? Do we want to be this to be closer to Wikidata? Do we want a whole new project dedicated to this? I really don't know what the answer is right now.
Interesting. So I guess just technically, would all of that data that people contribute to Abstract Wikipedia, is it all just triples? Is that or is there must be meta, I guess. Tell me a little bit about that, because I guess that's going to lead to, and it sounds like you're counting on the community to help you solve this problem of where do we put this?
I absolutely am. So it's not, I mean, it can all be turned into triples, just like with Wikidata. Wikidata isn't stored natively as triples. It's stored natively as JSON files. So basically as tree structures and maps. And the same thing is true for Wikifunctions. Everything there is stored as JSON files, and we will do the same thing for Abstract Wikipedia. Obviously, you can turn all of that into triples. For Wikidata, we do that and we store it into a very large triple store where we then allow Sparkle queries over it and so on. We could do the same thing for Wikifunctions and Abstract Wikipedia. But natively, it's all stored as individual JSON files in a MariaDB that is then accessed by MediaWiki.
Okay, yeah, and and again, it's early days, and I can't wait to see how it evolves. We're almost out of time, but how can people get involved if they want to contribute to or get involved with any of these projects? What's the best way for folks to?
So one way to join us is just to come to wikifunctions.org, the newest Wikimedia project. And there they can contribute to functions. You can see already the existing catalog of functions. They can contribute to different names. Another way is to contribute for Wikidata, because more metadata, especially more lexicographic data on Wikidata, is super useful in order to make this project happen. Then we have a website on MetaWiki, which actually describes the project as a whole, to give an overview of the project and the different places. All our software is open source. We really welcome people to come and join us also in developing the software. So there are numerous places where people can contribute to, and I'm very confident we'll put all of these in the show notes.
Absolutely, they'll all get in there. But hey, before we wrap up, Denny, I want to make sure, is there anything you want to revisit from the conversation, or that you just want to make sure we share before we wrap up?
I really love to share that, this is a project by and for the communities to allow them to reach that goal of the Wikimedia movement. Our division of the Wikimedia movement is really to imagine a world where everyone can share in the sum of all knowledge. And with Abstract Wikipedia, we're trying to unlock this everyone part so that you can share no matter what your language background is and work together on a common shared knowledge base that everyone else can also benefit from, and that everyone else can maintain together with you, so that we can tear down those language barriers and allow people to work together on the shared knowledge space. And really the important thing here for me is to understand that Wikipedia and all the projects of the Wikimedia movement are not just projects for consumptions. They are also projects that allow everyone to share, to join us, to collaborate with us, to work together. It's not Wikipedia's knowledge is not whatever the big industry companies hand us down. It's all of us together working on it, and each of us being able to contribute to it and to contribute our point of view, our knowledge and everything. So this is really the thing that for me really is important, and I hope that it's something that we won't lose with technology, which only allows to consume.
That's beautiful. I don't know if we talked about this before we arranged this, but my whole intent in this podcast is to democratize all of this stuff, like how you do this, what's going on, how to contribute, and this is seems like a perfect place for people who want to, make the web a better place. So thanks for putting this together. Hey, sorry,
Tim Berners-Lee, since he created the web, was always about this two-way street, right? In the original web browser that he wrote, there was an edit feature in it that you could create, and then with Mosaic and Netscape we lost this ability actually, and it took a few years until Walt Cunningham came up with the wiki website, but you did have again an edit button and so on. But really the history of the web seems to be driven by idealists who really want to point to this. Everyone can contribute space, and by forces that just want to turn it into a place of consumption on the other side. And I am really happy. We didn't talk about this before, but I'm really happy that your goal is also towards this democratization of the way that we can share knowledge and share other things over the web.
Great. This is we got to check in a year or so to see how everything's going on this. But hey, one very last thing, Denny. If folks want to connect with you or follow you online, what's the best place to find you?
Oh, the best way, that's difficult. So denny@wikimedia.org is my email address, but I'm really bad at answering emails, so I'm not sure this is the easiest way to reach out. Otherwise, you can find me on Mastodon. You can find me on LinkedIn and some other of those places. A very good place is actually just to find me on the Wikimedia projects. I'm user Denny, and if you reach out on my top pages, that one I'll see, and usually just come to.
I'll emphasize the Wikimedia one because we want to get people involved. So I'll focus on that. Well, thank you so much, Denny. This was an awesome conversation.
Thank you, Larry, for having me. This was really fun.
For show notes and to sign up for our newsletter, visit our website at knowledgegraphinsights.com. And please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for listening.